They say the truth always finds its way out, but no one ever tells you how quiet, how ordinary the moment can be when your whole life starts to fall apart. It started with a joke. That's what keeps echoing in my head. A stupid joke I made in a sterile white room while my 5-year-old son was busy picking dinosaur stickers off a nurse's clipboard. "Hey, since we're drawing blood anyway, why don't we run a DNA test?" I laughed, nudging my best friend, Marcus, who was overseeing the checkup. I meant it as nothing more than banter between two old friends. Marcus and I go way back, college roommates turned godfathers to each other's kids. He was now a pediatric specialist at one of the top clinics in Denver, the kind of guy who wore white coats like armor and never laughed too hard. But this time, he smirked. "I could. Just for fun," he said, tapping into the computer screen. I shrugged. "Let's solve the mystery once and for all. Maybe he gets that stubborn streak from the mailman." We both chuckled. And that was it. Or at least, it should have been. That night, I came home to the usual noise. Cora, my wife, was on a work call in the kitchen, multitasking dinner with one hand and flipping through some marketing brief with the other. She worked in advertising, always balancing a million things at once. Our son, Noah, was sprawled on the living room rug, trying to teach our aging golden retriever to shake hands. I kissed him on the forehead and felt, as I always did, that warm, inexplicable swell of pride that I had somehow been lucky enough to be this boy's father. We bathed him. Read Where the Wild Things Are for the 100th time. He fell asleep curled against me, tiny fingers still gripping my shirt. And then the call came. Marcus's name flashed on my screen, and I answered casually, expecting him to laugh about our earlier joke. Instead, there was a long silence on the other end. The kind that makes your chest tighten even before words are spoken. "You sitting down?" he asked. I froze. "Why?" He cleared his throat. "I ran the DNA test, like we joked about. I wasn't going to even mention it, but the results are back. And, Noah's not your biological son." Silence. Total, suffocating silence. The kind that drowns everything. I couldn't process it. I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and flipped my whole world upside down. I double-checked. "Ran it twice," Marcus added quickly, like he needed to prove he wasn't lying. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to be the one to." I hung up. The world blurred. I sat in the dark for over an hour. The only thing I could hear was the sound of Noah's soft breathing down the hallway. That innocent, gentle rhythm that had always made me feel like I was doing something right in this world. But now I didn't know what was real anymore. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay next to Cora, watching the moonlight catch on the strands of her dark hair, wondering how long she'd been lying to me. Wondering who the father was. Wondering why. And the worst part wasn't the betrayal, it was how much I still loved her, and how fiercely I loved that boy. I didn't ask her anything the next morning. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to think. At work, I couldn't concentrate. I'm a financial consultant, numbers are supposed to be my refuge, cold and rational and clean. But nothing felt logical anymore. I caught myself staring out the window, imagining a version of my life that didn't exist. Wondering if I had missed signs, or if love had just made me blind. I texted Marcus. "Can we talk in person?" We met that evening at a quiet bar on Blake Street. He looked like hell, unshaven, guilt heavy on his face. "I swear, man, I wasn't trying to stir anything up," he said. "It was just curiosity. I didn't expect." "You sure it's accurate?" 100%. I even had the lab run a third set anonymously. Same result. I stared into my glass. The amber liquid offered no answers. "Could it be a hospital mix-up?" I asked. He shook his head. "Noah has Cora's blood markers. The match is tight. It's not the hospital, man." My hands balled into fists beneath the table. I kept picturing the day Noah was born, how I cut the cord, how I held him as he wailed his way into the world. How Cora looked at me with exhausted joy and whispered, "You're a dad now." I believed it. Every damn second of it. "Do you want me to talk to her?" Marcus asked. I nearly snapped. No. This is between me and her. But deep down, I wasn't even sure what this was anymore. The next few days were torture. I watched Cora like a stranger, memorizing every move she made, every word she said. Was there guilt in her eyes? Did she know I knew? Or was she just living her life, thinking her secret was buried too deep to ever be unearthed? On Thursday night, I stood by our son's bedroom door, watching him sleep. He clutched his stuffed T-Rex, mouth half open in the peaceful chaos of a dream. And I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to feel yet. I didn't care about biology. He was mine. He was mine. But that didn't change what Cora had done. And I needed answers. So Friday evening, after we put Noah to bed, I poured 2 glasses of wine and asked her to sit down. She gave me a curious look. What's going on? I sat across from her. My hand trembled slightly as I lifted the glass, then set it back down. I ran a DNA test, I said, watching her carefully. She blinked. What? On Noah. And me. For a split second, her face was unreadable. Then the color drained from her cheeks. Why would you? It was a joke at the hospital. Just a joke. But the results came back. The silence between us stretched, thick and hot and unbearable. Tell me the truth, Cora. Her lips parted. She looked down, then back at me. And that's when I saw it. Guilt. Real, raw guilt. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. My world cracked, but I didn't flinch. With who? I asked. She hesitated. Her eyes welled. And then she said a name. Not just any name. A name that made the ground vanish beneath me. The name of someone I thought I could trust more than anyone. And that's where I'll stop for now. Because everything that came after changed everything. Marcus. That was the name she said. My best friend. My brother in everything but blood. I remember gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. My ears rang. It was like hearing a bomb go off, but no one else could hear it. Just me. Just inside my head. I stared at her, waiting, praying that she would take it back. Say it was a mistake. Say she meant someone else. Say anything that would make this nightmare stop unraveling in front of me. But she didn't. Cora just sat there, eyes brimming, lips trembling. And I knew it was true. I stood up without realizing it. My chair scraped hard against the tile floor. The glass of wine I poured earlier was still untouched, reflecting a twisted version of our broken marriage in its surface. How long? I asked, my voice sharp and hollow. She hesitated. It was one time. I laughed. A bitter, humorless laugh. That's not what I asked. She looked down at her hands, twisting the gold wedding band she still wore. It happened the night before your job interview in San Francisco. Remember? We had that big fight. You left early. I stayed behind. I did remember. That was over 6 years ago. Right before I took the offer that brought us to Denver. You slept with him while I was interviewing for a job to support this family. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. We were drunk. It was stupid, Anne. And you never told me. You never gave me a choice, Cora. You let me raise a child that wasn't mine. You let me believe. I didn't know, she cut in, her voice suddenly rising. I wasn't sure. And when I got pregnant, I didn't want to tear everything apart. I hoped, God, I prayed, that he was yours. And when he was born, he looked like you. Or I thought he did. And after that, I just shut it away. I had to. I wanted to move forward. I paced the room, my heart beating too loud in my chest. My thoughts were a mess of tangled wires, anger, heartbreak, confusion, betrayal. You let me name him, I said. Noah James. James after my father. Do you understand what that means? Tears streamed down her face now. I'm sorry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. I wanted to go back in time and stop myself from ever meeting her. From ever trusting either of them. Instead, I walked out the front door. The night air hit me like a slap. Cold and biting, but not enough to numb the fire burning inside me. I drove. No destination. Just asphalt and anger. Somewhere around midnight, I found myself parked outside Marcus's house. The porch light was on, and his car was in the driveway. I sat there for 10 full minutes, staring at his front door, clenching the steering wheel until my fingers ached. He didn't know I knew. Not yet. I should have knocked. Should have stormed in. Should have demanded answers. But I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I drove back to a motel on the edge of town. The kind with flickering signs and stale air. I paid in cash, didn't bother with luggage, just collapsed on the bed and stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. The next morning, my phone buzzed with messages. Cora. 5 missed calls. A long text apologizing again. Asking me to talk. Saying Noah was asking where I went. That he missed me. My throat tightened. He missed me. How do you stay angry when the person hurting you doesn't even know they're doing it? Noah was just a kid. My kid. No matter what some lab report said. I called in sick to work and drove to the park. The one Noah and I always went to on Sundays. I sat on the same bench where we'd shared ice cream, played tag, fed ducks. I watched the other families, dads pushing kids on swings, moms fixing crooked helmets, little ones with scraped knees and big dreams. And then I saw him. Noah. Running down the hill, arms outstretched like a superhero. Cora trailed behind him slowly, giving me space. He stopped when he saw me. "Daddy," he shouted. And in that second, I broke. I knelt down and hugged him so tight he squealed. "You came back," he laughed, climbing into my lap. "I thought maybe you were on a secret mission." "Yeah," I whispered into his hair. "Something like that." Later, after Cora took him home, I drove back to Marcus's house. This time, I knocked. He opened the door in sweatpants and a surprised expression. "Hey. Wasn't expecting you. Can we talk?" I asked flatly. He nodded, stepping aside. "Sure, man. Everything okay?" I walked in and didn't sit. "I know." His smile faltered. "Know what?" "I know about Noah. And I know you're the reason he's not mine." Silence. Long, brutal. His face turned pale. "Cora told you." I nodded. "She told me everything." He sat down slowly on the arm of the couch, rubbing his face with both hands. "It was one time, man. I swear." "You think that makes it better?" "No," his voice cracked. "No, I don't. I was drunk. Lonely. You and Cora were fighting. I'd just gotten divorced. I was a mess. And when it happened, I hated myself for it. You should have told me. I wanted to. So many times. But you look so happy. You were meant to be Noah's father, man. Not me." I stood there, staring at the man I once considered a brother. Was that supposed to be comforting? He didn't answer. I turned to leave. As I reached the door, he said something that froze me in place. I tried to stay away. But there were nights when I saw him and he stopped, swallowed hard. "He has my eyes." I clenched my jaw. "You don't get to say that." And I left. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't face Cora yet. Instead, I drove again. Trying to make sense of everything. Trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. Divorce her. Walk away. Fight for custody. But could I really tear Noah's world apart, my world, because of something he had no part in? And then a darker thought crept in. What if Marcus tries to claim him? What if he wants to be in his life now? What if this wasn't over? The thought made my blood run cold. I had spent 5 years building a life. Loving a child who I believed was mine. I wasn't ready to let that go. But I also wasn't ready to forgive either of them. And so, as I sat in my car, watching dawn break over the Denver skyline, I realized something. The truth had come out. But the real story? It was just beginning. I didn't sleep for more than an hour that night. My body shut down at some point, out of exhaustion, not peace, and I woke up with a stiff neck, still in the front seat of my car, parked outside an empty grocery store lot. The sun had barely crept over the rooftops. The city hadn't started moving yet. And for a moment, I could almost pretend the world was still normal. That my son was still my son. That my wife hadn't betrayed me with my best friend. But pretending only lasts so long. I drove back home just after 7. I didn't knock. I didn't need to. It was still my house. Cora met me in the kitchen. Her eyes were puffy. She hadn't slept either. Thank God, she breathed when she saw me. I didn't know if. I'm not here to talk, I cut her off. I just want to see Noah before school. She stepped aside silently. I walked to his room, trying to slow the rhythm of my heart. He was sitting on the floor in his dinosaur pajamas, building a tower out of Legos. He looked up and grinned when he saw me. Daddy. I knelt and pulled him close. Hey, buddy, I whispered. I missed you. He hugged me tight, unaware of the chaos storming just outside the door. I stayed with him for 15 minutes. We talked about his school project, a volcano made from paper mache. He was excited about making it explode for his class. When Cora came in to help him get dressed, I left the room. Waited in the living room. She joined me a few minutes later, holding a cup of coffee in both hands like it was her only anchor. I don't want him to know yet, I said. Her lips trembled. Of course. I would never. You already did. We stood in silence for a long beat. Then she spoke. I don't want to lose our family, Aaron. I scoffed. You should have thought about that before sleeping with Marcus. I made a mistake. You made a choice. A choice you kept secret for 6 years. Her voice cracked. He's your son in every way that matters. You're the one who stayed up with him when he had fevers. You taught him how to ride a bike. You pack his lunches. You're his father. Please, don't take that away from him. Don't twist this like I'm the one destroying something, I said coldly. I'm the one living in a lie. She reached out like she wanted to touch me, but I stepped back. You don't get to touch me right now. Her hand dropped. I grabbed my keys. I'll pick him up from school today, I said. Then I left. I spent the morning in a fog, sitting at a diner off Colfax with a coffee I never drank. I kept thinking about what Cora said. That I was his father, in every way that matters. But was that true? Or was that just something you say when you want to make betrayal easier to swallow? Because every time I looked at Noah now, I saw Marcus. The curve of his smile. His eyebrows. Even the way he tilted his head when he asked questions. It was like a ghost I couldn't unsee. Around noon, I called a lawyer. Not because I was filing for divorce. Not yet. But I needed to know what my rights were. What my options were. Because the thought that Marcus might suddenly decide he wanted to be in Noah's life. That terrified me more than anything. I met with a guy named Ben Alston, a partner at a family law firm downtown. He was sharp, calm, and didn't flinch when I told him the situation. Legally, he said, you're still considered the presumed father, since you were married when Noah was born and you've acted as his parent since. So, what does that mean? It means unless Marcus wants to pursue paternity and establish parental rights, you are still Noah's father under the law. And if he does? Ben looked at me carefully. Then things could get complicated. There'd be a custody evaluation. Possibly a DNA motion. It's rare, but if he pushes, he might get partial rights. And if I file first? For full custody. He nodded slowly. That could work in your favor. But it'll put everything on the table. Including the paternity issue. I sat back in the leather chair and stared at the ceiling for a moment. I don't know what I want, I said honestly. Ben didn't try to pressure me. Just gave me his card and told me to call when I was ready. At 3:15 p.m., I stood outside the school with the rest of the parents. I saw Noah coming down the steps, backpack bouncing. He spotted me and lit up. Dad. I ruffled his hair and took his hand. We went for ice cream. Just the two of us. I watched him eat his cone, chocolate smeared across his cheek, and I kept thinking, how much of this is real? And how much of it is something I forced myself to believe? Because I wanted to be his dad. I chose that every day for 5 years. But now, that choice felt poisoned. And then came the moment that cracked something wide open. Mom said you were on a work trip, Noah said between bites. Did you get me something? My throat closed. I nodded slowly. I'll bring it tomorrow. Something cool. He grinned. Okay. I watched him for a long time. Then I asked, careful and calm. Do you know Uncle Marcus? He nodded. Yeah. He came to my birthday last year. Do you like him? Sure, he shrugged. He's funny. He brought me a dinosaur book. Of course he did. Noah didn't know. He couldn't. But I did. And that knowledge burned every part of my chest. That night, I dropped him off, and Cora opened the door. You were right, I said quietly before she could speak. About what? I am his father. And I'm not giving that up. Her eyes filled again. Aaron, But I need time. I need space. And I need you to stay the hell away from Marcus. I haven't seen him since you found out. I swear. I didn't believe her. Not completely. Because if he comes anywhere near Noah, I will file for sole custody. She froze. You wouldn't. I stepped closer. Try me. Then I turned and walked away. But it didn't end there. 2 days later, I got a message. Blocked number. No name. Just a single sentence that made the blood in my veins go ice cold. If you think you can keep him from me, you're wrong. He deserves to know. Marcus. He knew I wouldn't let this go quietly. And now, it was clear, he wasn't planning to either. The message played over and over in my head like a broken record. If you think you can keep him from me, you're wrong. He deserves to know. I stared at it until my vision blurred. It wasn't even signed, but I didn't need a name. The arrogance in the words, the entitlement, it had Marcus written all over it. For years, he stood beside me, smiling at my wedding, holding my kid at his first birthday party, sitting across the table during Sunday barbecues, and the whole time, he had this in his back pocket. A secret he could detonate whenever he wanted. And now, he had lit the fuse. I didn't delete the message. I took a screenshot. Sent it to my lawyer with a short note, he's trying to make a move. Then I got in my car. I didn't know what I was planning to do, only that I couldn't sit still. Rage is like acid, if you don't let it spill somewhere, it starts to eat you from the inside out. Marcus lived in a modern condo near Capitol Hill, high-end and sterile, just like him. He always said he liked clean lines and no clutter. No clutter, like the past didn't exist. Like mistakes could be boxed away, or people filed under forgettable. I rang the buzzer. Once. Twice. Then he answered. Aaron. His voice through the speaker made my jaw clench. Open the door. There was a pause. Then a buzz. When the elevator opened on the 4th floor, he was waiting for me in the hallway. He looked nervous. Look, man. I shoved past him into the apartment. Don't look, man, at me, I snapped. You sent that message. He closed the door behind me slowly. You mean the truth? The threat. Marcus raised his hands. It wasn't a threat. I'm just saying, he is my son too. No. He's not, I hissed. You're a sperm donor who couldn't keep it in his pants. You knew what you were doing. You watched me raise him. He looked away. Did you ever plan to tell me? I didn't know for sure until recently, he said. I laughed bitterly. Oh, that's convenient. I suspected, after he was born. But Cora said it was yours, and I wanted to believe her. So you said nothing. For 6 years. And now, what? You think you get to claim him? I'm not trying to take him away from you, Aaron, Marcus said. I want to be a part of his life. If he wants me. No, I said flatly. You don't get to do that. He stepped closer, voice low. You can hate me. I deserve it. But Noah deserves the truth. I stared at him. Really looked at him. He didn't look like a man who wanted a child. He looked like a man chasing control. He'd always been like that, needed to win. Needed to be the smartest guy in the room. This wasn't about fatherhood. It was about winning. I turned to leave. If you contact him, I said quietly, I'll bury you in court. I'll expose everything. Your record, your ethics violations from medical school, your ex who filed for that restraining order in 15, yeah, I've read it all. His face paled. You're not the only one who can dig, I said. Stay away from my son. And then I walked out, slamming the door behind me. That night, Cora called. I let it ring twice before answering. Did you know he contacted me? I asked. She was silent for a second too long. He told me he might. I asked him not to. But you didn't warn me. I didn't think he'd actually go through with it. I shook my head. Cora, you've got to understand something. I'm trying to hold this together for Noah. But you keep making that harder. She sighed. That's why I'm calling. I have an idea. A terrible one. But maybe the only way forward. I'm listening. She hesitated. Let's tell Noah. Together. My blood went cold. Absolutely not. If we control the narrative, we can protect him. He's smart, Aaron. He'll feel the tension. He already has. We lied to him for 6 years and now your fix is to drop a nuclear bomb on his world. Her voice was cracking. He deserves to grow up knowing who he is. He'll resent us both if he finds out later. I sat in silence. Torn between logic and emotion. Between fear and integrity. I'll think about it, I finally said. The next few days passed in a strange limbo. I kept my routine with Noah, picked him up, helped with homework, played catch in the backyard, but everything felt suspended. Like I was pretending to live someone else's life. Then something happened that forced my hand. We were at a Saturday barbecue at my sister's house. My brother-in-law grilled burgers, the kids ran around with water balloons, and for a few blissful hours, I almost forgot the storm waiting back home. But then I heard my sister's voice behind me. Hey, Aaron, who's this? I turned to see her holding her phone, frowning slightly. There on the screen was a Facebook post. A photo of Marcus. Smiling. Holding a balloon at a birthday party. The caption. So proud to be in Noah's life. Even if he doesn't know who I am yet. Hashtag someday. My heart stopped. He'd posted it publicly. No tags. Just a breadcrumb for the world to follow. And sure enough, people were noticing. A few mutual friends had commented. One even tagged Cora. That was it. He was making his move. He wanted it to leak. That night, I met with Cora on neutral ground, my sister's backyard, after we sent Noah inside to watch a movie. I showed her the post. She stared at it, jaw tight. He promised he wouldn't. You still trust him? I snapped. After everything? No. I don't. But I didn't think he'd be this reckless. We don't have a choice anymore. She met my eyes. So we tell him. No, I said. I tell him. Alone. She flinched. Aaron. I'm the one who's been his father. If this is going to destroy something, it's going to come from me. Not the guy who lied to my face for years. Silence. Then, finally, she nodded. I practiced the conversation in my head 100 times that night. But nothing prepares you to tell a 6-year-old that everything he believes about his family is a lie. Still, the next morning, I sat down with Noah in his room. I held his hands in mine. And I began. Hey, buddy. There's something I need to talk to you about. Something important. His face was curious but calm. Okay. I took a breath. You know how sometimes, grown-ups make mistakes? He nodded slowly. Well, when you were born, there was a mistake. A mix-up. Something that I didn't find out until recently. His brows furrowed. What kind of mistake? And just as I opened my mouth to answer, Cora burst into the room. Aaron. Stop. My chest tightened. What are you doing? I need to tell him with you, she said, her voice trembling. Noah deserves both of us. I looked at her, and I knew she was right. But before either of us could say another word, Noah looked between us and asked, very quietly, Is Uncle Marcus my real dad? Silence. My heart dropped through the floor. Who told you that? I whispered. He shrugged. I heard Mommy crying on the phone. I looked at Cora. Her face was paper white. And just like that, the secret we were trying so hard to control was already unraveling. Noah's question still rang in the air, piercing and weightless like a whisper shouted in a cathedral. Is Uncle Marcus my real dad? I froze. Cora's breath caught audibly beside me. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. And me? I felt like I was standing on a tightrope strung between two cliffs, on one side, truth. On the other, protection. And the wind was picking up. I turned to my son, no matter what biology said. I didn't lie. But I didn't answer right away either. Instead, I scooped him up gently and sat down on the floor with him in my lap, just like I did when he was a toddler afraid of thunder. Noah, I said softly. Where did you hear that name connected to you like that? He squirmed, unsure. I heard Mommy on the phone. She was crying and said, Marcus is his father, but Aaron is the only one who ever deserved the title. I didn't get it. I looked at Cora. Her face was pale. Her hands trembled at her sides. You weren't supposed to hear that, she whispered. But I did, Noah said simply. Is it true? I looked him in the eye. Yes, I said, steady and calm. It's true that Marcus is your biological father. That means he helped create you. But he wasn't there when you were born. He didn't rock you to sleep when you had colic. He didn't take you to the ER when you broke your arm or read you the Gruffalo 100 times in a row. Noah blinked up at me, trying to make sense of it all. I did those things, I said. Because I'm your dad. The real kind. The kind who stays. Noah leaned his head against my chest, not crying, not speaking. Just processing. Cora sat down beside us. Her voice was choked but honest. I made a huge mistake, Noah. I hurt people. I hurt your dad. And I hurt you by not telling the truth earlier. But nothing changes the fact that the man sitting behind you is the one who's been there every single day because he loves you. Finally, Noah whispered, I don't want things to change. Tears stung the corners of my eyes. Me either, buddy. Me either. And for that one fragile moment, I thought maybe we could weather this. I was wrong. 3 days later, Marcus filed for parental rights. Not visitation. Not a supervised introduction. Full-blown, court-certified legal paternity. He wanted shared custody. When I opened the envelope, my hands shook so badly I dropped the papers on the floor. I didn't even read the whole thing right away. I knew what it was. It was the first move in a war I never wanted to fight. Cora showed up 20 minutes later. She must have gotten her copy too. I told him to stop, she said as soon as I opened the door. I begged him not to do this. And you're surprised? I snapped. She flinched. Did you really think the man who betrayed his own brother would respect boundaries now? Her face tightened. I'll testify on your behalf. It's not enough anymore, I said, quieter. He's got money. Lawyers. He's playing the long game, Cora. Her eyes filled. What do you want to do? I stared down at the papers. They felt heavier than they were, like they'd been printed in lead. I want to end this. I met Marcus at a diner in Georgetown. Neutral ground. No lawyers. No Cora. Just us. He slid into the booth across from me with a smug kind of calm, like he already thought he'd won. You got the papers, he said. I did. I'm not trying to hurt you, Aaron. I just want what's mine. She's not a car, Marcus, I snapped. And neither is Noah. I didn't mean it like that. I leaned in. Then stop acting like it. He raised his hands, all faux innocence. I'm trying to do the right thing. No, you're trying to prove you can win. My voice was cold. That you can take the one good thing I built and slap your name on it. He said nothing. So I continued. But I'm not going to let that happen. You're not going to take my son away from me. Marcus raised an eyebrow. He's our son. No, I said sharply. He's mine. I raised him. I love him. He doesn't even know you. You think a kid just bonds because someone shares DNA. I leaned forward. You may have helped create him, Marcus. But you don't deserve him. That finally got under his skin. His jaw clenched. I've already filed, he said. The process has started. Then here's my counteroffer, I said, sliding a folded piece of paper across the table. He opened it. His eyes scanned the words. You're willing to sign sole custody to yourself, with supervised visitation for me if I drop the lawsuit. I nodded. Why would I agree to that? I looked him in the eye. Because if you don't, I'll go nuclear. His face darkened. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I will take this to the media. To your hospital board. I'll subpoena every dirty secret you've tried to bury. I will make sure the entire world sees who you really are. He scoffed. You'd hurt your own family's name to keep me out. No, I said. I protect my son from a man who only sees him as leverage. For a long moment, he didn't say anything. Then finally, he folded the paper and slipped it into his coat pocket. I'll think about it. A week passed. Then, the court documents were quietly withdrawn. He never signed my paper, but he sent his lawyer to send a letter. Mr. Hartley has chosen not to pursue any further claims at this time. He reserves the right to seek reconsideration in the future. That was his way of saying, I'm not done. Just not now. Fine. Let him wait. I'd be ready. Months passed. Things got quieter. Still tense, but manageable. Noah went to therapy. Cora and I established clearer custody schedules. There were bad days, of course, questions he wasn't ready to ask yet, moments when he'd look at me like he was trying to understand the cracks in the surface of our life. But he always came back to me. Always ran into my arms when something went wrong. And one night, just before bed, he looked at me and said, Dad. Yeah, buddy. Are you mad I'm not really yours? My heart ached. You are mine, I said softly. In every way that counts. I chose you, every day. And I'll keep choosing you. He smiled. Good. 'Cause I choose you too. People think being a father is about biology. It's not. It's about being there. It's about listening when they cry, cheering when they win, and standing between them and the world when it gets too loud. I didn't win in court. I didn't get revenge. But I kept my son. And in the end, that's all that ever mattered.